Hi, and in this video, I want to share with you 3 key changes you can get faster parkrun results as a 50-plus-year-old runner. And no, I'm not going to suggest any magic pill to take you back to your 30s because you can't change your age. So let's focus on the 3 key changes in your training that will make a key difference to the results that you're getting. Look, I understand it's easy to blame age when parkrun results stall because, yeah, maybe age has taken a chunk out of your times in recent years, particularly if you've been doing really good times, perhaps in your 20s and 40s. There's been a slowdown, but say you cannot change the candles on your birthday cake. What I actually see is runners in what I call the evergreen endurance runner model, boom bust cycles. And they're doing these key things in 5Ks. They push too hard on their easy runs. They race too often without recovery, and they treat every run like it's a tempo. And they get caught in what I call the dead zone. Does that start to sound familiar to you? Because if it does, this is good news, because unlike your age, you can actually do something about this. Most 5K runners are stuck in a dead zone, and some of you may have seen me mention this in some of my other trainings, but this really does apply a lot to 5K runners or park runners. So they're training the incorrect training stimulation and pace distribution. They're playing all the right notes, but not particularly in the right order. Even if you're playing the right notes, you've not got the right tune. They're training consistently, a lot of them, but they get diminishing results, which is very, very frustrating. Like, keep filling the bucket up and it's never filling up. And then injuries are disrupting their progress, taking the fun out of their running. And in a lot of cases, they're playing the age blame. They'll be like, okay, this is just my age. But the things I'm going to share here aren't relevant just to your age at all. The things I see a lot, I've just started with a few 5K runners recently, and when I'm chatting to them, there's too much speed. So they're always chasing a faster park run time, which I know sounds very counterintuitive, that if you want to run faster, surely you've got to have speed, but it's the right dosage, and we're going to cover that in a minute. But there's no structure to their speed work, so it just becomes a cycle of injuries, which, as I say, I'm going to cover in more details. They do too little easy running and too little recovery between races. Now, these are the key areas that I see. If this is the case, how do you get out of this dead zone and get improved results with your 5K training? So first and foremost, we've got to look at the overview to really get a clear understanding of what you need to do differently. So you've got to get a balance in all training. Weirdly, I think this is probably as true, if not more true, with 5K runners. So we've already discussed like the boom bust cycles, but then you've got to look at how you perfect your easy run. I call it the perfect pacing method. How you make sure that your easy runs are easy. Because I'm going to come to something in a moment, which is the key point I see with most 5K runners, is they're not easy. They're far from easy. And then look at a way that you can do your speed work in the right dosage, not only so that it makes you less prone to injury, but it also makes sure that your recoveries are better. And that's what I call the sustainable speed frame workout. And then what your strength workouts are like. I was talking to a 5K runner recently, and his strength workout was amazing. I said to him, I felt like there was going to be Rocky music playing in the background when he was telling me about it, because it was so intense. He loved it. He'd come out dripping out of sweat, but he was mentioning that he was feeling tired just because strength training is good for you, and many things are good for you, but if you overdo them, they become a problem. This is the Evergreen Endurance Runner model, where we're looking at planning by breaking those boom bust cycles, training with the perfect pacing method and sustainable speed framework, and executing micro strength training. But also, you can do all this, but then if your pacing strategy for your 5K runs useless, then it's like having a superpower and not being able to use it. So this is the overview. So what's the detail on this? So let's have a look. So how do we fix all this? First, like I said, is the perfect pacing method, and training consistently but getting diminishing results. If you look at your training at the moment, if it isn't in the right intensities, I can almost guarantee if you are getting diminishing results, getting very tired with your recoveries, maybe getting some injuries as well, that you'll find most of your run really falls into a quasi low or mid or high tempo run. Your easy runs will generally be too hard, and you might have a bit of mid tempo, but you'll probably do a lot more than that. And then your speed work isn't sustainable because of the dosages, kind of the way it's distributed. So all the running is across the board in this kind of dead zone. I am not demonizing the classic zone 3 scenario. I'm just demonizing the overuse of it. That's what I'm demonizing. The first step in the perfect pacing method is to really make sure that you do your endurance runs well, because most 5K runners pay lip service to endurance. The reason that's a massive problem is if you ask most 5K runners what their goal is, their next goal, and then ask them what their race pace is, they will know it. And then if you ask them again and go, well, how long could you sustain that potential race pace? It soon becomes apparent that doing the race pace isn't the problem, it's sustaining it that's the problem, which is, in simplistic terms, an endurance problem. Something I work a lot with my runners on with 5Ks is making sure that they are doing some endurance runs throughout the week at low intensity. And depending on where they are in a cycle of their training, and it will differ, a race is coming up, we have some longer runs at weekends, which some of them are low intensity. When we first start with the Evergreen Endurance Runner Accelerator program, that some runners actually are really a bit flat-footed with this because it feels so counterintuitive, because they see what they're doing as 5K runners as purely speed. But anything 5K and above is endurance based. And this is why so many of my runners that do marathons often drop down after the marathon and PB in 10K and 5K for that very reason. So it's very important to not just pay lip service to the easier runs at zone 1 and 2. I always call it nudging. When I'm coaching runners, is they know what to do, but the ego takes over and it feels easy runs feel slow compared to probably your race pace, compared to what somebody else thinks you should be doing on Strava or Instagram or Facebook. But it's not too slow to get the adaptations and changes that you need to improve your park run times. And the Brucey bonus, for those of you who are old enough to know what that is that also it's a lot less wearing on your body in the respect of intensity. So you're probably thinking, oh, what you're basically saying is I gotta do all my runs slow. No, it's not that simple. People are always going zone 1 or 2 is the magic zone, or zone 3 is the demons. People love to have complete kind of simplicity. All the zones, all the speeds are important. It is just getting the dosage right. If you're looking at this graphic I showed you a moment ago, most runners are in that low tempo for their easy runs, or maybe mid tempo. Then with their speed work, it's too elongated in many cases and it's not sustainable. And one of the things that you could do to improve your training is to make sure your speed workout is very targeted and not just all over the place. If you're out for 40 minutes, how much of the training is at high intensity and how much is in zone 1 and 2? There should be a kind of stimulation of speed, but it shouldn't be the whole workout. Though I see this so often when I talk to runners. I did a speed workout, 60 minutes. How much of that was at high intensity? They didn't do the warm up. So they did that at mid-tempo. And they got to the speed section. They didn't commit to that because they were already a little bit tired. They couldn't really reach that effort level because they'd done the first bit too hard. Then they don't take the recovery seriously in the reps and they don't do the warm down. So it all becomes mid to high tempo. Whereas the difference would be if it was, say, 40 minutes, you might have 4 or 5 minutes or whatever of high intensity in that workout, which is sustainable for most older endurance runners. Or even if it was tempo, the way that you arrange it might be in blocks of 10, 15 minutes with recoveries in between, so that you get that sustainability to your speed work so that it maximizes the stimulations that you need, the neuromuscular changes that you want, alongside obviously your easier running as well. And really what you're doing is, from this, you can see from this graphic, when runners come to me, they're in this dead zone and we're like really nudging them, either if it's got zone 1 or 2 in it, either if it's a endurance run or longer run, or it's got zone 1 and 2 in it in the speed workout. We're really nudging them to make sure that they recognize those intensities. They don't just pay lip service to them and their ego takes over and they're, oh, I'll go a bit harder because it feels better. And then really nudging them the other way. So when the intensity is there, commit to that intensity, but also commit to the recovery and the easier parts of that workout. That way you get the sustainability of speed work without the higher risk of longer recoveries and higher risk of injury. And finally, smarter recovery and race strategy. Race smart, train smart. So we've already mentioned micro strength training, but I just wanted to reiterate this. I found this personally myself. I love the challenge of strength training, but as I've got older, these longer sessions, whilst challenging and enjoyable in lots of ways, don't always lead to better training in my running and better recovery. So like I've said, something I work now and I would encourage you to look at with your strength training is maybe breaking it down into micro blocks, say 20 minutes, 3 times a week. Now, depending on your level of competency, that could be just body weight if you've never done any strength training, bands that give you resistance, or free weights if you're more confident and you've worked with that. But I've tended to find that this morning I was in the gym and it was warm up and then 20 minutes of various movements. My energy levels and tiredness have been much better today than if I go out and I do an hour. Strength training is obviously a good thing because so many older runners have fantastic engines, but their chassis isn't as strong. And in that scenario, sometimes the engine is stronger than the chassis. Strength training is a very good thing, but it's just being aware that you can get too much of a good thing. And then finally, the perfect pacing race engine is something I share with my runners. I shared earlier the Evergreen Endurance Runner model and the execute part. One of the biggest learnings I had when I first started coaching was I was coaching runners and I thought I was doing a pretty good job. And then they were going out on race day and not doing a great job. And I looked at myself. These are pictures of myself doing 3:30 in Brighton Marathon in 2024. And there's me and my son at the finish of an ultra, 60-mile ultra 2024. And the thing that I realized throughout my life that I've got better at now is not perfect, is pacing. And I think that's something that is grown in my coaching business significantly over the years. We call it a pace race engine. different engines for different races, different strategy. Within the coaching, they're all personalized to the individual, but I've got broad race engines that I utilize. In 5K, it is harder because it's such a short race, having very simple strategies to make sure that you're making the right decisions at the right time, and basically you don't go off too far. That's the biggest thing with almost any racing. At least with 5Ks, you've got a bit of a better chance of hanging in than you have a marathon, but it's still there. This is the final part, the kind of recovery. Even if you look at the other factors, they will all help with recovery, but also having that race strategy, which we're not going to go into so deeply into this video, but I just wanted to kind of say that it is a fact. I hope you've really got something from this. Before you go, I just wanted to share with you my evergreen endurance runner, Parkrun Improver. It's a 6-week coaching program to get faster, more consistent park run performance for 50 plus runners. We go through, and this page will take you through the whole program and how it works, and basically covers some of what we've spoken about today, but how we're going to fix it over the 6 weeks. Bye for now.